Basketball, and the NBA specifically, have become one of, if not the most popular sport in the entire world, and it's gotten a lot more popular in recent years. But even though it's a sport a lot of people love, that doesn't mean it's perfect by any means. There's a lot of great rules in place, but then there's some that definitely need to be looked at. If I was Adam Silver for a day, please God no. Okay, if I met with Adam Silver for a day, to make some rule changes, we'd have to start with number 7. Shorten the season. This is one that'll probably never happen, and I don't know that I'd even want to see it, because that'd mean less basketball, but I did some digging. And on the NBA's analytics page, most starters in the league run anywhere from between 11,000 to 13,000 feet a game. So that's about 2 miles. 2 times all 82 games is over 160 miles, and a marathon is about 26 miles. And it's said that the average runner should run no more than 2 marathons a year to keep their body healthy and to keep it from wearing down. This means the average NBA starter that plays most games in a season is running 6 marathons a year. That's 3 times the recommended limit, and that's not including all the jumping, dunking, and physical contact they take every game. I know running 26 miles straight is a little different, but you get the point. But yeah, this plays a huge part in all the injuries we've seen this season and every season. It'd be much better on the players and for the fans to see 60 games full of stars instead of 82 games where your stars are injured for half the season. But this rule will likely never happen, because think about all the money the NBA and teams would lose. If you cut out a fourth of a team's games, that's a fourth of their profits, which means the players' profits too. I'm sure players would rather get paid millions to be injured than play more healthy games for less money. Number 6, the one and done rule. This is something that's just gotta go. Conversations have been coming up more and more recently, and that's a good thing, because there's no benefits to making a player that's ready for the NBA go back to the NCAA or LeVar's league for one season where they don't learn anything academically, and the school's the only one that makes money off of using their name. A guy like Ben Simmons, a perfect example, saying that the NCAA is a dirty business and that he pretty much failed every class at LSU because he never went. And now in his official rookie season, he's shown that he's been NBA ready. Number 5, hand-checking. If you don't know, hand-checking is pretty much just being able to keep a hand or two on the player with the ball. It's what all the NBA players of the 90s say separate the game from then and now. And they're right. But with how players are so used to getting calls and not being touched when they have the ball, this would be interesting to see. On the perimeter, this really helped players stop from driving to the basket, so the game would be completely different if it was brought back. It was originally brought in to speed up the game and make it more exciting, so I don't know if I'd like this rule. I like the pace the game's being played. I think it'd be really interesting to see brought back for one season, just to see how things go and how the entire league would pan out. You've got to imagine that if hand-checking was brought back, we'd see guys like Avery Bradley and Patrick Beverley be elite ball stoppers. And they're already up there with the top defenders in the league, so they'd be on another level. So if this happened, we'd see perimeter players score less, which would force post players to score more. So we'd see the bigger actual centers of the game go back to dominating the game. But like I said, this will probably never happen, because the league took it away in the first place to market the league as a more exciting game of wing players that you could actually relate to. You can't see little Johnny going to his YMCA game and trying to throw up a shot like Shaq. Number 4, no conferences. This has come up in discussion ever since a few years back when the East started to, suck. The East has gotten a lot better since then, but it's still a rule I think should change. The conferences were made up way back in the 40s, I'm guessing to help teams out with travel back then, and it was a nice way to organize the teams. But with how easy travel is nowadays, that part's not a problem. But besides that, conferences and especially divisions don't do much in today's game, so let's find some other way to organize the playoff standings and let the top 16 teams in the league compete, instead of being forced to watch teams that aren't ready for the playoffs get wrecked by the first and second seeds every year. Number 3. These players gotta stop complaining to the refs. It's something the league said that the players and refs are going to discuss during the All-Star break, so I'm praying that something actually gets fixed. Because this is one of the things about the NBA that bothers me the most. Every single missed layup, every single foul called, you see someone complain because either they got hit or they didn't touch the other player. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of times that the refs do miss a call or call a foul when it shouldn't have been, and I'm definitely not on the ref's side because that's something that needs to get fixed too, but the players need to chill out. NBA games have fouls, and you can't complain every single call. It makes these guys look like little kids. There's gonna be fouls every single game. You'd think these guys would get tired of complaining to the refs for 82 games out of the year. Number 2. The rule that says you can't come off the bench during a fight. We saw it most in the spotlight when some say it cost the Phoenix Suns a championship, when during the Western Conference Finals, Robert Horry launched Steve Nash into the commentator's desk in the closing minutes of Game 4, and Amari Stoudemire and Boris Diaw walked a few steps from the bench, didn't even get involved in the fight, and that got them both suspended for Game 6, in which they lost and eventually lost the series. The rule was first put in place by David Stern to stop big brawls from happening, which has worked on most occasions. But I would say that players should be allowed to break up any big altercation, and as long as they don't get involved, they don't get suspended. But then anytime a fight breaks out, both benches will always be on the court. So I can understand why it's so strict, but things like the Sun situation just shouldn't happen. Number 1. To fix charges and flopping. There's nothing worse to me than seeing a fast break, and instead of a player trying to make a defensive play on the ball, the defender just stands straight up to take a charge, and actually gets it. Now don't get me wrong, there definitely needs to be offensive fouls in the game, and I think there's definitely room for charges in the NBA, but there should be no situation when you see a fast break coming, so instead of trying to make a play on the basketball, you just slide in front of them to stop a play. And charges and flopping go hand in hand a lot of the time too, so as for flopping in general, it's just gotta go. It's come up big in the past few years, and it continues to live on with guys like this, and this, and this. The NBA tried to put a stop to it a few years back by charging players a $5,000 fine for every violation, and then increasing that amount for every violation after that. But come on, these guys make at least 7 figures a year. Why not just make the fine $100,000 or $1 million? Or seriously, like a 1-game suspension? Especially for when you can go back on film and see that the guy didn't even get touched. Then there'd be no instance where a player would actually flop. I mean, a player would in a second pay a $5,000 fine to flop and get a call to help their team close out of Game 7 of the finals. So I still think something needs to be done about this rule. But overall, these are the 7 rules I'd most like to see changed. If you have any other major ones I might have missed out on, definitely comment them down below and let me know what you thought of these 7. Oh yeah, and there will be no time where I think the NBA will be ready for a 4-point line. Just throwing that out there. But thanks for watching, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next video.